You stand at the edge of the abyss, don't you? You've peered over the side long and hard. You're not like the others, the ones who distract themselves with trivialities, who chase fleeting pleasures and manufactured outrage. You see the machinery behind the curtain. You see the scripts they're all reading from. You've diagnosed the world with a terminal case of absurdity, and your conclusion, the one you hold like a shield of cold, hard steel, is that none of it matters. This is the core of your power and the source of your paralysis. This isn't a critique, it's a recognition. Your cynicism is not a flaw, it is a high-resolution lens. It has allowed you to see the cracks in every foundation, the self-interest behind every smile, the inevitable decay in every monument. Nihilism became your fortress, a place of intellectual safety where nothing could touch you, because if nothing has inherent value, you can never truly lose anything of value. You have become the smartest man in a room on fire, calmly explaining the principles of combustion while everyone else panics. But you are still in the burning room, and the smoke is starting to fill your lungs. That cold comfort is beginning to feel just cold. The intellectual superiority is starting to feel like solitary confinement. The constant deconstruction of everything leaves you with nothing to build. You have protected yourself from disappointment so effectively that you have also firewalled yourself from joy, from purpose, from the raw, chaotic, terrifying, and beautiful business of being alive. Today, we are not here to tell you that you are wrong. We are here to offer you a bargain, a final bargain, the cynic's last deal. We are here to talk about the cynic's final bargain, trading nihilism for Stoic fire. This is not about trading your intelligence for naive optimism. It is not about unseeing what you have seen. It is about trading a passive philosophy of the void for an active philosophy of the arena. It is about taking your clear-eyed, brutal understanding of the world and forging it, not into a shield of apathy, but into a weapon of will. It is about trading the cold, dead ash of nihilism for the living, breathing fire of Stoicism. This is the transaction that will make you unrecognizable. This is the alchemy that turns your profound disillusionment into a dangerous and unstoppable power. So let's open the ledger and examine the terms. This is the most important negotiation of your life. Pay close attention. The first thing you must place on the table is your most prized possession, the comfort of the void. This is the essence of nihilism's appeal. It's a philosophical black hole that consumes all responsibility, all fear of failure, all pressure to become something more. If the race is meaningless, there's no need to run. If the canvas will one day turn to dust, there's no reason to paint. If all human endeavor is a brief, random flicker in an uncaring cosmos, then your own inaction, your mediocrity, your unrealized potential, none of it matters. It's the ultimate excuse, and it feels like freedom. But it is the freedom of a prisoner in an infinitely large cell. You can wander anywhere within its confines, but you can never get out. This freedom is a ghost. It drains the color from the world, leaving everything in shades of gray. A promotion at work, a temporary distraction, a new relationship, a future heartbreak, a personal achievement, a fleeting ego boost. The nihilist's lens bleaches everything of its significance, and in doing so, it protects you from the pain of striving and failing. But this protection is a poison. It seeps into your bones, making you brittle, weak, and hollow. The weight of meaninglessness is, paradoxically, the heaviest burden of all. You see it in the way you move through your days. There's a ceiling on your effort, a governor on your heart. Why push for the last repetition in the gym? Your body is decaying anyway. Why master a difficult skill? It will be obsolete in a decade. Why build something beautiful and lasting? A meteor could wipe it all out tomorrow. This isn't a thought you have once a week. It's the background radiation of your existence. It's the quiet whisper of the inner critic that has convinced you its name is realism. So here is the first term of the bargain. You must trade this absolute certainty of meaninglessness for the pragmatic discipline of deliberate action. This is where the Stoic fire is first kindled. The Stoics, men like Marcus Aurelius, an emperor who saw the pinnacle of human power and its ultimate futility, or Seneca, who navigated the treacherous courts of Nero, were not naive fools. They were intimately familiar with the chaos, injustice, and impermanence of the world. They stared into the same abyss you have, but they came to a radically different conclusion. They concluded that the potential meaninglessness of the universe was not an excuse for inaction, but the very reason to create your own meaning. The bargain is this: you agree to act as if your actions matter, not because you have blind faith that they do, but as a deliberate, strategic choice. You trade the passive observer's perch for the active participant's burden. You stop asking, "What is the point of it all?" and start commanding yourself, "This will be the point. My will, my virtue, my action." Consider the story of the old shipwright in a landlocked desert. For 40 years he built a magnificent seafaring vessel deep in the heart of a barren wasteland, miles from any ocean. His apprentices and the townspeople thought him mad. "Old man," they'd say, "why do you labor so? There is no water here. Your ship will never sail. It will rot under the sun." The old man, his hands gnarled from a lifetime of shaping wood, would look up, wipe the sweat from his brow, and say, "The sea may never come to my ship. That is beyond my control. But whether the joint is perfect, whether the hull is sound, whether the mast is true, that is mine. I am not building a ship to sail. I am building a ship because I am a shipwright. The work itself is the harbor." This is the first exchange. You give up the nihilist's trump card, it's all pointless, and in return you receive the craftsman's purpose. You stop judging your life by its external outcomes, which are forever subject to chaos and fortune, and you begin to measure it by the quality of your own input. Did you act with courage? Did you apply yourself with discipline? Did you speak with honesty? Did you face adversity with resilience? These become the new metrics. The universe can do what it will. Your character, your actions, your internal world, that becomes your ship in the desert. It is a monument not to a destination, but to the dignity of the journey itself. The actionable step is to make a conscious declaration. Right now, declare that for the next 24 hours you will suspend your disbelief in meaning. You will operate under the assumption that every single action has weight. The way you get out of bed, the way you speak to the cashier, the focus you bring to a single task. You will treat it all as if it is being etched into the permanent record of your soul. Do not ask for proof. Do not wait for a sign. You are not asking the universe for meaning. You are imposing your meaning onto the universe. That is the first spark of Stoic fire. Now we come to the second term of the bargain. This one cuts deeper. You must trade your role as the world's most astute critic for the role of its most accountable citizen. The cynic is a spectator. He sits in the stands, armed with a powerful intellect, pointing out every flaw in the players on the field. He notes the poor strategy, the flawed technique, the foolish ambition of those who dare to compete. From this vantage point, he is never wrong. He never loses the game because he never plays it. His identity is built on deconstruction, on pointing out why things will fail. It's a position of immense ego protection. But the price of this protection is impotence. You cannot steer the ship from the shoreline. You cannot build a city by critiquing the blueprints. Your sharp analysis, your keen perception of the world's flaws becomes a sterile, intellectual exercise. You are the brilliant military strategist who has never seen a day of combat. You know everything about the war except what it feels like to be under fire. The bargain is this. You trade your passive, critical observation for active, radical ownership. You must step out of the stands and onto the field. This is the heart of the Stoic principle known as the dichotomy of control. It is perhaps the most powerful piece of mental technology ever devised. It is brutally simple. Some things are up to us and some things are not. Up to us are our judgments, our impulses, our desires, our aversions. In short, everything that is our own doing. Not up to us are our bodies, our possessions, our reputations, the actions of others. In short, everything that is not our own doing. The nihilist looks at this and says, see, almost nothing is up to me. Therefore, my effort is largely futile. The Stoic looks at this and says, finally, clarity. I will waste not one more second of energy on what is not mine to control. I will pour every ounce of my will, my discipline, and my focus into the small, sacred territory that is mine. This is not a philosophy of resignation. It is a philosophy of brutal efficiency. It is mental warfare. It is about deliberately starving the parts of your mind that feast on anxiety about things you cannot change, and instead feeding the part that executes on what you can. Imagine a highly skilled programmer, Alex, who works at a large, chaotic tech company. Alex is a cynic. He sees the wasteful spending, the pointless meetings, the incompetent middle management. He spends his days writing code, but he spends his mental energy complaining to his colleagues, mocking the CEO's latest buzzword-laden memo, and predicting the company's inevitable decline. He is 100% correct in his analysis, but he is also miserable, stagnant, and powerless. His focus is entirely on what is outside of his control. Now let's say Alex makes the bargain. He trades his critique for ownership. He walks into work and applies the dichotomy of control like a laser. The CEO's memo, not in his control, he deletes it without reading. The pointless meeting. He must attend, but his mental participation, his inner assent to its stupidity, is in his control. He can use that time to mentally plan his next productive coding session. The incompetent manager. The manager's actions are not his to command, but his own work. The elegance of his code, the thoroughness of his testing, the helpfulness of his comments for the next developer. That is entirely within his control. Suddenly, Alex's entire universe of concern shrinks from the entire dysfunctional company to the 24 inches of his monitor. He stops trying to fix the world and starts trying to perfect his craft. He stops deriving his identity from being the guy who sees all the bullshit *T and starts building it on being the guy who writes unbreakable code. Within a year, he's not just happier, he's more valuable. He's either promoted above the incompetence or he leverages his now elite skills to get a better job elsewhere. By giving up the desire to control everything, he gained true power over the one thing that mattered, himself. This is the exchange. You give up the right to blame the world, your boss, the economy, your upbringing, or the fundamental absurdity of existence for your problems. You surrender the satisfying, ego-soothing narrative of victimhood. In return, you gain sovereignty over your own mind. You build what the Stoics call the inner citadel, a fortress inside of you that external events cannot breach. The world can rage outside its walls, but within, you are the commander. You are calm, disciplined, and focused on the mission. The actionable step is to perform a mental audit. Take the biggest source of anxiety or frustration in your life right now. Write it down. Now draw a line down the middle of a page. On the left side, list every aspect of that problem that you cannot control. The past, other people's opinions, market forces, luck. On the right side, list every aspect you can control, your response, your effort, your attitude, your next action. Now, take the left side of the page and ceremonially burn it. Metaphorically or literally, this is your declaration of surrender. You will no longer waste a single watt of mental energy on these things. All your power, all your focus will now be directed to the right side of the page. This is not a one-time fix. This is your new daily practice. This is how you wage and win the war for your mind. We arrive at the third and most difficult term of the bargain. This is where the true transformation from cynic to warrior occurs. Here, you must trade the heavy, protective armor of apathy for the consuming, dangerous fire of purpose. Your apathy is a masterpiece of psychological engineering. It was forged in the fires of past disappointments, polished with every broken promise and reinforced with every observation of human folly. It protects you. If you don't truly care about the promotion, you aren't crushed when you don't get it. If you don't let yourself fully love someone, their departure leaves only a shallow wound. If you don't invest your soul in a great project, its failure is just an anecdote, not a tragedy. Apathy is the cynic's ultimate defense mechanism. It whispers, if you expect nothing, you can never be let down. But this armor has a terrible cost. It is heavy. It restricts your movement. It insulates you not only from pain, but also from warmth. It is a self-imposed prison that keeps out the bad, but also suffocates the good. In your quest to feel nothing negative, you have systematically numbed your ability to feel anything at all. The world, which your cynical eye sees as absurd, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It is dull and meaningless because you have refused to engage with it in a way that could give it meaning. The bargain is this: you must take off the armor. You must willingly expose yourself to the possibility of pain, failure, and heartbreak in the pursuit of a worthy goal. You trade the guarantee of feeling nothing for the possibility of feeling everything. This is the Stoic concept of amor fati, the love of one's fate. This is not a passive acceptance. It is an active, enthusiastic embrace of everything that happens, good or bad, as fuel. The Stoic does not merely tolerate adversity, he welcomes it. An obstacle is not a roadblock, it is an opportunity to practice a virtue. A betrayal is not a tragedy, It is a chance to practice forgiveness and resilience. A failure is not an ending. It is a lesson in humility and a chance to rebuild stronger. To the cynic, this sounds like madness. Why would I love the things that cause me pain? Because pain is the price of growth. Because the fire that melts the soft steel of the mediocre man is the same fire that forges the hard steel of the superior one. The Stoic understands that the obstacle is the way. Consider the story of a woman, an architect, whose life's work was a revolutionary new community center she designed for her hometown. It was innovative, sustainable, and beautiful. She poured 10 years of her life into it, fighting city council, securing funding, overseeing every detail. 2 weeks before its grand opening, a freak electrical fire burned it to the ground. Everything was gone. The cynic in her and in all of us would have a field day. See, I told you. All that effort, all that passion, for what? For a pile of ash. Nothing is safe, nothing lasts. It was all a pointless waste of time. This is the moment of truth. This is where apathy offers its cold, comforting embrace. It would be so easy to retreat into that armor, to say, I'll never care that much again, and live out a smaller, safer life. But she made the bargain. She stood before the smoldering ruins, not with despair, but with a terrifying calm. She walked the perimeter, the smell of smoke clinging to her clothes, and she thought, the fire took the wood and the glass and the steel, but it did not take my ability to design. It did not take the lessons I learned over the last 10 years. It did not take my will. Fate has given me a blank slate and a master's education. The first building was my prototype. This next one will be my masterpiece. She embraced her fate. She loved it. She used the disaster as the ultimate fuel. The pain of the loss, the sting of the failure, she channeled all of it. She didn't just rebuild the community center. She built a better one. She incorporated advanced fire suppression systems she hadn't thought of before. She used the insurance money and a new wave of community support, galvanized by the tragedy, to expand the plans. The fire, which would have been the final confirmation of a nihilist's worldview, became the crucible that forged her legacy. That is the power you are trading for. You give up the safety of not caring. It's a huge risk. You will get hurt. You will fail. Your heart will be broken. The world will be unfair. All the things your cynicism correctly predicted will come to pass. But you will not break, because you will have a purpose that is stronger than your pain. You will have a fire inside you that consumes obstacles and turns them into fuel. The actionable step is to define your fire, not your passion. Passion is fleeting. Fire is something you feed. You must choose a purpose. It doesn't have to be grandiose. To be a man of impeccable integrity. To raise children who are strong and kind. To master my craft. To build a body and mind capable of withstanding any storm. Choose one. Write it down. This is your why. This is the reason you will get up when you are knocked down. Every day when you wake up, you will read it. When you face an obstacle, you will read it. This purpose is the lens through which you will now view the world. No longer is the world a series of random, absurd events. It is now a training ground, a gymnasium designed specifically to test you and strengthen you in service of your chosen purpose. You take off the armor of apathy, and you pick up the torch of your why. And so we come to the final clause, the sealing of the bargain. This is where the trade is finalized, where nihilism is not merely discarded but transformed. integrated into a new and far more powerful operating system. This is not about forgetting what you know. It's about leveraging it. The final term is this: you trade the despair of the void for defiance. You take your profound understanding of life's potential meaninglessness, its inherent chaos, its ultimate end in cosmic dust, and you stop seeing it as a reason for paralysis. Instead, you weaponize it as the ultimate source of freedom and motivation. Let me explain. The average person, the one you so accurately see as trapped in the matrix, is motivated by external rewards and punishments. They work hard for a bigger house, a faster car, the approval of their peers. They are disciplined out of fear of getting fired or fear of social judgment. Their entire system of motivation is fragile, dependent on things outside of their control. But you, the former cynic, have seen through this. You know the house will decay, the car will rust, and the approval of the crowd is as fickle as the wind. You have an advantage. You are not deluded by the baubles and trinkets of the material world. This makes you untouchable. The Stoic who has stared into the abyss of nihilism is the most dangerous man of all. Why? Because his motivation is no longer external. It is purely internal. He doesn't act with virtue because he expects a reward in this life or the next. He acts with virtue because the act itself is the reward. He doesn't build his discipline to impress others. He builds discipline as an act of defiance against his own weakness and the entropy of the universe. Think about it. If you truly believe on a deep, fundamental level that nothing is promised, that there is no cosmic scorecard, that your existence is a brief, unrepeatable accident, then every single act of self-improvement, every moment of courage, every display of integrity becomes an act of pure, unadulterated rebellion. You are looking the cold, indifferent universe in the eye and saying, "I know you don't care. I know this all ends in silence, but while I am here, I will not be weak. I will not be mediocre. I will not be a slave to my impulses. I will forge my own meaning in the fire of my own will." This is the ultimate alpha mindset. It is not about dominating others. It is about achieving absolute self-mastery in a world that encourages self-indulgence. It is spiritual warfare waged on the battlefield of your own mind every single day. Your cynical knowledge becomes your greatest asset. When you feel lazy, your knowledge of mortality is not a reason to rest, but a whip that drives you to act. This day will never come again. I will not waste it. When you face injustice, your knowledge of the world's chaos is not a reason for despair, but a call to embody the opposite. The world is chaotic, so I will be a bastion of order and reason. When you feel fear, your understanding that your reputation, your possessions, even your life can be taken from you at any moment frees you to act with immense courage. What can they truly take from me? My virtue, my character? Never. That is mine alone. The story for this final clause is your own. It hasn't been written yet. It begins now. It is the story of a person who saw the world for what it was, brutal, absurd, and temporary, and instead of surrendering to it, decided to become a living monument to the power of the human spirit. A person whose every disciplined action was a protest against chaos, whose every moment of inner peace was a victory in the war against entropy. A person who traded the comfortable lie that nothing matters for the difficult, glorious truth that what you choose to do matters more than anything else. This is the bargain sealed. You give up nihilism, the philosophy of a clever slave, and in its place, you take up Stoicism, the philosophy of a defiant king. You don't plug back into the matrix. You become the one who can bend its rules through sheer force of will, because you are no longer motivated by its illusions. So, let's summarize the contract you have signed today. First, you traded the cold comfort of meaninglessness for the pragmatic discipline of deliberate action. You agreed to act as if it matters, creating your own purpose. Second, you traded your passive critique of the world for active ownership of your inner domain. You stopped trying to control the uncontrollable and focused all your power on what is yours: your mind, your character, your response. Third, you traded the heavy armor of apathy for the consuming fire of a defined purpose. You made yourself vulnerable to pain in order to become capable of growth, using every obstacle as fuel. And finally, you have traded the despair of the void for a spirit of ultimate defiance, weaponizing your knowledge of life's futility into the ultimate motivator for self-mastery. You didn't lose your intelligence. You didn't lose your clear-eyed view of reality. You have amplified it. You have transformed it from a source of paralysis into a source of power. The cynic is dead, not because he was wrong, but because he was incomplete. He was a brilliant diagnostician who refused to become the surgeon. The fire is now lit. It is small, perhaps just a flicker. Your old habits, the whispers of the nihilistic inner critic, will try to snuff it out. They will douse it with doubt, with sarcasm, with the seductive call of apathy. Your job now is to guard that flame. You will feed it every morning with a renewed commitment. You will feed it with every difficult choice you make, every workout you finish, every promise you keep to yourself. You will protect it from the winds of external opinion and the rains of misfortune. This is your new reality. The bargain is struck. The nihilist has played his final, clever hand and traded his entire kingdom of nothing for a single spark. And with that spark, you will set the world ablaze. Now go to work.